I have the privilege and the honor to introduce not only a past colleague of mine, but a friend of mine, and that's Kathleen Hassenfratz. And Kathleen Hassenfratz comes to you today to talk with you, and she comes with such an amazing background. She has been working with youth for the past 28 years in a variety of ways. She was a middle school counselor, she worked as a middle school teacher, she's been in public education, she's been a chemical abuse prevention counselor, a ropes course manager, and her recent previous role was our coordinator of health and social programs for the district. And she actually sat in on my interview, so thank you for bringing me here today.
That's a story to tell.
That is a story, but only for laughter later. So Kathleen comes to us with her Bachelor of Science in Education from UT, and we won't hold that against her Aggies. I'm just kidding, I love you, and UT is great. She has a Master in Education and Counseling from Southwest Texas State, which is now Texas State. And she's also an LPC, which is a licensed professional counselor. So when your kiddos come see me and the issues are beyond the scope of a school guidance counselor, I refer you to people like Kathleen, licensed professional counselors. She supports youth, especially. She specializes in youth, struggling with anxiety, depression, and self-regulation, managing emotions. She is married to a wonderful husband who takes her on really fun trips. And she has two beautiful kids that are in the Lee Travis School District and two fur babies. She loves experiential, educational outdoor things that she enjoys with her family, because there's always something you can teach your kids through nature and being outdoors. And she is just gonna blow your socks off. So, here you go. How's that? How's that? She's wonderful. She's wonderful. And even though we're not colleagues, she's now my go-to person for consults. So just to let you know that on the spot. Okay. So without further ado, Kathleen Hassenfratz.
And I realize the white may be a little challenging, so let's see how this goes. And Joe, I don't know if you can knock down the lights a notch?
I will get a custodian.
Just to see if that might show a little better. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please, Marla. So today what I'm hoping you're going to learn is to better understand the developing brain, because I know we talk about this, but it's definitely something that you need to remember when your kids are acting out or challenging you. Like, this really will help you kind of reset how you approach things, okay? The technology on the brain, man, it is just a different ballgame now. There are theories now that believe most of the issues we're having with teenagers, whether it's drugs, depression, suicidal ideation, or even completion, stem from the exposure to technology. Because the increase has been so drastic and so vast over the last 8 to 10 years with those numbers. That they're just trying to get underneath all that. But that's a theory, and a pretty strong one. And then finally, what's out there in the digital landscape? What do we do? How do we manage this? Let's just go, Marla. And so what I want to do is really get a quick pulse of who's in the room. Raise your hand if you have kids in high school. Okay. What about middle school? Here we have a big show. And of course, elementary. Anybody with just the real babies, like 3rd and below? Okay, and not to put you in the spot, but do any of those 3rd graders have a phone? You can just give me the Okay, I know it's tough. Raise your hand if your kid got their first phone when they were in 4th grade. Okay, appreciate the honesty, because it is what it is. 5th grade? Yeah, that's reminding me. 6th. Okay, 7th? Wow, good job, that's so hard. 8th or older? Man, you need to be up. You can switch with me.
It was all my husband, I have to say, but it was not me, it was my husband.
Wow, that's awesome. Are there specific things that are just burning that you want to, like you say, I just have to know this, But you can let me know now, so as I'm going through the slides, I might be able to use that lens. Yes, ma'am?
Tools for safety.
Say again?
Tools for safety.
Okay, safety against just like the filters for predators or just, okay. Okay,
Yeah, or how do we track them? What do we do? How do we learn?
yes.
What is a tool that we could learn?
So look at your handout right now, and I'm so sorry that font at the bottom. I start off with this great font, right? Then I'm like, hey, and here's a 10 at the bottom. The Teen Safe tool, I am using it now. I put this on my kids' phones unbeknownst to them. I was using Hour Pact, which is also on there, but I had to take their phone, they had to download the app, and then I could, which I love about Hour Pact, I've kept it. I can click off their phone anytime I want. Like, you're not gonna clean your room? Clean. I mean, it's amazing. Set timers on it and so forth. But they also can go in and delete that app. And I've got a 14-year-old girl that's probably the one who will do it. The Teen Safe, these do have monthly charges. The Teen Safe's pretty cool because right now they don't know it's on their phone. And I know that feels kind of like not transparent, but guess what? Those little boogers know so much more than we do that I'm going to have an upper hand in one way or another. Okay? So Teen Safe has a monthly charge, but I can go in and look at text messages, I can look at the apps, you can filter phone calls, you can see everything that they're using to communicate. Can't shut it down like the Hour Packs. That's what I love about the Hour Pack. I mean, I just like click. I had to shut my daughters down last night. Oh my gosh. So you know there's something on the brain when you have the kind of reaction that she had when I turned the phone off. So anyway, we don't need this to be a therapy session, Charlie.
Have you used the new screen time and the new update on their phones?
I am so impressed that there's a new screen time. Yes. She was even able to say to me, like, my data's so slow right now. And I said, how much screen time have you used? And it was like an average of 5 hours a day. That was news to me. You know what that was mainly? Fortnite. The Fortnite. Okay, so we'll talk.
How to ban Fortnite.
How to ban Fortnite? Do we, I mean,
No, I didn't.
yeah, but I get you. I get you. How do you get that balance? Okay, one more and then we'll go through and we'll see what we got.
How you deal with games and stuff that they play is so stimulating and exciting that in reality, school, other activities, they don't really care about that because it's not as exciting. How do you deal with that?
Yeah. So scary. And I know there's little people in here, but I think I can speak at a level that is too, the words would be too big. This is the first generation between 19 to 26-year-olds. They're having a bigger erectile dysfunction issue than men 55 and older. Do you get where I'm going with this? What they're watching, PORN, is so stimulating that they're having ED. 18, 19, to 26. So, okay, so I hope I can answer that one, because that's the scary one right there. Okay, next slide, please, Marla. Okay, what do we know about the brain? One more slide. I thought this was a funny quote. Okay, so we know that developmentally, next slide, Marla, the frontal cortex is the, and I'm sorry on the white, I think he did it, but, and you can read these, I don't want to read these to you, but we know that that frontal part is the last piece to develop. I think we've all gotten that information now. So what's happening when they are watching videos, they're playing Fortnite, they're maybe on a site they shouldn't be on, let's say, they're getting that emotional flooding in the limbic system. And so that is where all the emotions are. That's where all the dopamine flooding can occur. It's like a gambler playing a slot machine. Think of every time your phone, the text goes off, or you get a notification. I want to challenge you today to either silence all your notifications or let them go off and don't go check your phone. Because number one thing I want you to take away today is they are watching us. And we are the gatekeeper. There is nothing in the research that's taken away parent influence. It's still the #1 prevention tool against all negative behavior. You have to Clearly state your expectations. Clearly state the consequences and follow through. That's the tough part. But what we know now is, in the white box at the bottom, is they're getting hijacked. They literally have so much dopamine flooding from the electronic device that it's taking over their emotions. And what we've learned from Dr. Crystal Collier, if you were lucky enough to see her when she came through our district a couple of years ago, kind of like an expert in the brain development, she said, think about it. Think of like you've got these files in here, right? And you're learning new things, and you start a new file, and then we put it in a drawer, we kind of organize them. But imagine one thing being taught, and so that file is just expanding. You can't really fit it too much in there anymore. Picture, how unorganized your files can look. So picture their brains where they're just working on one thing, a dopamine shot around a visual. So the visual's connected to the excitement and to the dopamine rush. Now they're in class. And as they get older, it becomes more auditory. We know, and the teachers know this, kids are not all auditory. We know some kids are visual, some are kinesthetic, some are combos. Aren't we all really? Depends on the time of day, the content, do we like the teacher? But picture that everything they're getting ingrained, that their file cabinet around visual stimulation with a dopamine hit is like creating an addiction. It's the same thing that hits with cocaine, with alcohol. There's just the same brain chemistry. Just because it's a device doesn't mean it's not the same chemistry. Okay, next. So, the emotional hijack. And I don't think there's anything wrong with teaching your kids this, by the way. I think it's extremely important we try to teach them this at their developmental level. And you'll know you're doing it right if they go, no, not again, because we've got to continue to talk about it. So Marla, next one. Okay, do's and don'ts. So you can read through these. The parental controls is a must. I like Charlene's suggestion too, that some of these are on the phone systems now. Just go in and explore what you have on your new iOS updates if you have Apple. I don't know about the Android pieces, so I could use some education there. The ground rules have to be set. You have got to have expectations. Picture they're driving a car and you just handed them the keys. And they never took driver's ed, and you never sat with them next to them while they were driving, and you never taught them how to drive a car, but you handed the keys. That's what we've done with the phones, overall, most of us. It's not too late. I had too many high school parents raise their hands and go, but they're 14 now, they're 16, so what? We know that the brain development continues until about 25, 26. It's not too late. If your kid had a drug addiction, would you say, I'm sorry, it's too late, they're 14? We've got to remember these are our babies. We've got a couple of little ones right there. Picture them on a phone. See how sad? Look how innocent they start. Hi. He's so cute. You do need to friend and follow your kids. And if they say no, they don't get that app. Like, there's no negotiation there. A lot of people won't allow the Snapchat chat, I get it. You know how there's back channels on a lot of these things, right? The direct messaging. You've got to say to your kid, not only am I going to follow you and you're going to follow me, but I'm going to look at your phone periodically. I don't know, once a day, once a week. Get in there. Make sure you know how to check the back channels of those where they can direct message. Instagram's the same way. None of this should be a secret. Check their web browser histories, set your parental controls, make sure on the phones you can set those ones that you can completely block certain websites. YouTube's a tough one too, right? Because YouTube can accidentally keep leading down to something they shouldn't see. They might start with Spider-Man, just keep going down spiders and men, and who knows what may come up. When I say explore and celebrate, this is kind of a Fortnite thing. Like, partly we should end up playing some games with them. My husband and I were talking about back in the day with Atari, and some of you probably, you're not even old enough to know that, like I'm in my 50s, and Atari was just a little Pong game. I'm sure our parents were super worried about that. Ding, ding, ding. But they did play it with us. And so I have a very good friend named Dr. Mike Brooks. He's local. He just wrote a book called The Happy Tech Life. You may want to look at it on Amazon. He very much encourages you getting in there and learning how to play these games. There's so many great things about Fortnite. I don't know if you've realized. Yeah, the way it teaches collaboration, communication, strategy, planning. It's just the amount of time. What the brain experts say is after 30 minutes, they should take a break, because after 30 minutes, those neural pathways become more permanent. Now think about this. During adolescence, the brain begins to shed away neurons that it knows it's not going to use. Like, I'm not going to become a neuroscientist. I'm not going to become a veterinarian. I'm not going to play the piano. So it starts to get rid of and prune away certain pieces of development. So if it's constantly learning video games, Netflix, that's the part of the brain that gets locked in as an adult. There was this picture of a brain from the top that showed a kid playing video games and the neural pathways that were becoming cemented in there, and the parts that were becoming stronger were hand-eye coordination. Okay, that's great if your kid's going to be a surgeon, an athlete. But for the majority of us, just having hand-eye coordination isn't going to be the exact neurons, the neural pathways that we want to have solidified and the strongest ones. Make sure on the don'ts, you don't miss a teachable moment. And by that I mean, rather than getting super angry about something, try to explain what you're worried about. I'm worried that your brain isn't getting a rest. You're creating these dopamine, use the words, these dopamine shots that make you want this more. I need you to switch the channel, brain-wise. Get away from the device. Now you can't be saying that, sit down and go check your Facebook. You have to be able to let them sit back with that boredom that we used to have. Remember boredom? Don't you love when your kids say, I'm bored? Because you don't hear it very much, though. And you need to go, good. Good. What are you going to do now? Questions yet? Okay, so don'ts. Oh, sorry, sweetie.
What's
Yes.
the name of the book? I don't see it.
It's not the Happy Tech Light. Tech Happy? Tech Happy. Look for Dr. Dan Brooks. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize it.
Yes, way to go. Throw me off. Is it Tech Happy? Maybe Tech Happy, but he's Dr. Dan Brooks. Is that what it is?
The ultimate, right?
Okay, I want to take that sign-in. I want to take that sign-in sheet anyway and see about following up with you guys. Is it on?
I'm not seeing it on there.
Really?
I
Okay.
expected Dan Brooks.
But gosh, I know he had it at Barnes & Noble, 'cause I saw him holding it at Barnes & Noble, like, look at my book. Yeah, shoot.
Did you find it?
Tech Generation, Raising Balanced Kids in a Hyper-Connected World.
Is it Dr. Dan Brooks?
His website is Tech Happy.
Okay, his website's Tech Happy. Yeah, he's pretty amazing. He's a local psychologist here, and I think his practice is Austin Psychological Association, but great guy. Like, I know him personally, and he struggles with raising his own children around this balance. So he's speaking from experience, but he also does research. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie, go.
A lot of these are about like friend them and follow them. So then why is it secret that you're monitoring them with tech safe? Why are you saying I'm monitoring?
Because they're smarter than we are on the technology. The question is, why am I going to do the secret Teen Safe app that I have? It's not an app, actually it's web-based up in the cloud, and that's how I can keep it from them knowing. Because they're smarter than we are. They're going to figure out a way around it, and they could very easily take off the RPACT, which is fine. I mean, I would shut down the phone by taking it from them, right? And we can have these battles. what I'm trying to do first is actually do these at home, but stay one step ahead. I have a friend who has I think she's a sophomore now at the high school cheerleader, who, because she was using Teen Safe, discovered vaping and some other activities sneaking out at night that she didn't know. So there were behaviors that were associated with communication that she was able to find through the Teen Safe and intervene. So it was bigger than just the phone issue. The kid had some other behaviors. That's an extreme case, but we'll see. I mean, I'm trying. I'm like in my first month of Teen Safe, to be honest with you. But so far, I'm like in the access. Yes.
Do you think, you mentioned just like Instagram and Snapchat and all that, so like we don't allow it, but I don't think my oldest is 12, so it's not really an issue right now, it's not quite, he's not into it yet, but do you think it's better to like let them have it and teach them how to use it, or just keep it out? 'Cause I just kept it out because that's all I feel like that's all I know right now.
If he doesn't want it,
And I'll teach you.
perfect. I love the question, do you walk side by side with them and let them have the apps or not? I think you have to know your kid. And my son, who's 12, doesn't really care about it, but it's the daughter, and she wants it. And so I'd rather you, like a steering wheel, like a car, teach her as you go. Yeah. I do think that's what we're missing, is the desire to want to get in their world. Yes?
Just to make a comment on that, I've seen a couple of parents who just lock it down, for girls, not boys, lock it down, and the girls end up having these underground, like, I know of my daughter's friend who has 3 Instagram accounts, and mom doesn't think she has any. And so
So how do
there's
we
a
get as
balance.
Christians, like my kids don't even know their password.
My daughter started it with her friends' logins. Yeah, their friends' logins, their friends' phones, or put it on the phone and do the friends thing. And then I found out last week that my daughter has 2 accounts. So I feel like there's a balance. And when I asked her about the second account, she told me everything and immediately friended me. So the second account thing, where they have this public account and then your silly
Well,
account.
yeah, what is that other one called? Shoot.
There's a name for
There
it.
is a name
I'll
for it.
figure it out. Finsta.
But there's something else, I guess.
They also, the kids call it, yeah, there's something the kids call it.
But they call it something else. Yeah. Oh, shoot.
So anyways, the point is, I think there's a balance. Because if we say no to everything, it's to your point about how smart they are, they figure out a way around it. And so if we're not educating them and walking alongside of them.
And then let them educate us. Let them be the teacher. They are very, very intelligent when it comes to understanding this, because they're being raised as the natives. Remember, we're the immigrants in this world of digitalness. To your point though, what I've been trying to do now out in the community, because I'm not doing too much private practice right now, I'm really looking at how do we change our community to be more focused as understanding our kids, being better parents. Hard to admit, right? Come on.
No, it's true.
We all know how hard it is. And then getting together, and I've started something called Community in Action, so you can be part of the CIA. And so all we're doing is, we're trying to stay together on emails that I put out, on tips, no charge. This is not me trying to save my own kids. 8th and 6th grade, if your names are not, if you didn't write down an email, maybe I can get those from Marla, because I'd really love for us to not be afraid to call that mom and say, hey, this is gonna hurt, but I thought you might want to know that I heard this. Whether it's vaping, sex, I don't care. We've got to talk to each other. No shame, no guilt. I need you to help me. This is hard. Yes, ma'am.
So one of the things that I did when I had family talent last Thanksgiving, so it's been almost a year, is I asked, it's actually a cousin, but she's more like a niece who's in high school, and I said, hey, let me pick your brain on what are the apps that kids would use to hide things from their parents. What should I look out for? What would they download? What are they called? What do they look like? And I made a list, and then I asked her periodically to update that and let me know
This list.
what those things are, because there are apps that they can download that parents are scanning.
Calculator one.
The calculator, there's hidden photos, there's different ways to chat, there are ways around. These kids are so smart, and they find the back that was one of the things that I just asked. You know, I had a family member who was in high school, and she, you know, she was open to sharing it all with me. And I said, I'm not gonna tell your dad. I don't, you know, that's his deal. I need to help my kids. So that
You're
is,
gone.
yeah, so that's one thing that I just thought
That's
randomly.
great. That is good.
So I try and help.
Can you
See,
share that?
this is why we have to share. I was gonna say, this is what I'm talking about. It's worth more than any money that anyone can get paid to start a network of parents that care, want to keep talking. Ooh, sorry.
I was just gonna piggyback on who asked about talking to them about what you're doing. I think the only thing in my experience, I have two older daughters that are college age now, and we went through a situation. As parents, I think we feel guilty not being honest with them when we're monitoring them. But the problem is, like you said, they're starting so early, and we're immigrants to this. And my husband works in software, and he still didn't notice the things that my second oldest daughter was doing. I mean, she learned how to back end into even her regular desktop computer and start from scratch and install programs in the background. They had these apps called like stacks and things, and you can hide all these programs, and you wouldn't even know. It just looks like a system icon.
Yeah.
Like it's just like something like a settings kind of thing, and you wouldn't even.
Yeah, you're looking, nothing there looks.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I think kids are inherently rebellious at some point, so we can't trust that our parenting is always going to win out in terms of their decision making, because we can teach them right from wrong, like all day long. They know what's right and they know what's wrong, but they're still wanting to. You know, my friends are doing it. I want to do it. You know, they want to be a part of the group and be, you know, accepted in that way. And I think so. Sometimes we can't control the outside influences on them either. And they're really, really good at hiding this stuff. And just like she was saying, these apps where you just hide all your activity. And so sometimes you kind of have to play by different rules.
It was interesting when I was asking her, thank you, Shirley. When I was asking my daughter, I said, oh honey, I need your Apple ID and I want to make sure I have your password right. She said, why? I said, because I pay for your phone. And I want to know these things in case I get bills, whatever. But I mean, there was literally a why. And so, yeah, we would never put them in front of a car. We wouldn't let them, you know, go on their first date, hopefully, without talking about things that could happen. So, especially if your kiddos don't have phones yet, really start early. Finally, I want to go back to not only being a model, but making sure they know about the legal requirements. So yes, a lot of these apps are supposed to be 13. So the fact that they're on them before that is already a violation. More importantly, sorry, I'm thinking of the porn. Remember, if they're getting those on their phone, so a girl snaps a picture, or a boy sends it out, to have it on their phone is considered pornography, which is an offense. So say I'm the girl, and I snap it, and I send it to Charlene. Charlene, that's weird. Charlene, you don't want to see that anyway. Charlene doesn't tell anybody, but she's got it on her phone. That's illegal. It's more important that our kids know, and hopefully they didn't ask for it, but say they did or they didn't, but it's on their phone, they need to go to mom and dad right then and be like, I have this on my phone, and I probably shouldn't have, and because then you delete it, and then you make sure you talk to that parent of the kid who sent it. People, I know it's hard to pick up the phone and talk to other parents. Why? Are we worried about that they won't like us? Is that the same thing our kids are worried about? We have to be able to say it's okay if my kids don't like me, it's okay if that mom doesn't like me because I said, I'm pretty sure your kid's vaping. Okay, no problem. No, it's fine, kiddo. He's gone. Cute boy. Yeah, we've got to use the teachable moments, whether it's music, whether it's something you see in a movie. Did anybody get to see, and it was okay, the movie called 8th Grade? Okay, it came out this summer and it was like a documentary film about an 8th grade girl. It was pretty cute. My daughter who's in 8th grade said this is nothing like real life, Mom. But it showed the need to fit in, the use of the phone, the constant no filtering, no filter, and then like woke up like this. You know what I mean? Like they're not even being who they are. They don't know how to be authentic. They've got filters, they've got posts, everyone's bragging. We've talked in our household about taking like a month off, everybody off any social media, that you would just have the phone or the text so we could communicate. So, you know who I'm having a hard time convincing? The husband. Oh, it's like another appendage. Okay, next slide, please. He's a great guy. Anybody with the last name has frats, right? When I first met him, I remember he introduced himself, and I was like, and I was single, and I was in my 30s, and I remember thinking, I am not ever going to marry that guy, because that name is ridiculous. Okay, so critical information about technology on the developing brain. So read through this. Look at the early flooding. Now, remember the flooding is the hijacking of the amygdala. Remember, it's back here, there's feelings, dopamine. Look at that. 90% of adult addicts were flooding their brain early on. Now, this data is too new for it to really probably be about all technology. This is still probably about porn or drugs. I don't know where the kids are, okay. But picture that now with our kids. And then early flooding can cause the permanent neural pathways like we were discussing, okay, so that everything that they're stimulating is just stimulating the need for the dopamine. I need the hit, I need the hit. Executive functioning, remember that's up here, last thing to develop. You can see how important that is to develop. And that we have to model for them and talk to them about these things. Look at that, the empathy on there. I think people forget that a lot of that is a skill. It's not natural to be empathic towards someone. Oh, but you do that to me. She was going, really? Yeah, they are cute. But we have to teach our kids empathy. We have to talk about being in someone else's shoes. You know, it's so funny, when we did the Youth Risk Behavior Survey data, survey here in Lake Travis, and we did 7th through 12th grade. So we did it in May of 2017 and January of 2018, and this is right before I was heading out to retire. And it was so interesting how the kids would report that there wasn't bullying, that really wasn't a problem. Anybody feel differently about that though? Because I don't know if they can, I know. The social media, I mean, if I ask my daughter, she says no. Again, one kid, her perspective. But the fear I have is that because they don't have this functioning completely developed, and a lot of this is direct teaching, you've got to directly teach these skills. If we don't have any programming going on at the high school, which was one of my biggest issues when I was leaving, like, oh my gosh, been here 13 years, we can't seem to break into that platform of the high school, right? It's its own thing. Leadership kept changing, kept taking steps forward, steps backwards. From what I understand, there's still nothing going on there that supports the social emotional connections, teaching empathy, emotional regulation, how do I manage that stress without needing to feed it, however you choose to feed it, literally sometimes feeding it. And so that worries me in our school district. So I think it's even more important as moms that we decide we can be the CIA, we can be the community in action, we can create groups to help each other, even if it's a quick phone call, text, and email. Gretchen.
Real quick, a comment and a question. I really think when kids hear the word bullying, they're picturing what they learned in kindergarten. Somebody's tripping you, knocking your books down, putting your kid on the back.
Good one.
That I really think
Define the bullying better.
I think the programs that are used to define bullying are so outdated.
You know, they dropped the old Vegas, which is fine. I mean, I think we got a good life out of it, and we're into the second step, which is a pure social emotional curriculum. I don't know if you've heard of it or if they've pushed it out at all. Okay, that's what I heard when I was leaving.
My question though is,
Yeah, I know.
as far as porn goes, okay, so pictures of the girls, their little bikinis, is that, like, what's the
telling you.
definition of, what's the
Yes,
definition?
I think if they sexualize, if a girl is sexualized,
If a girl sends a picture in her bikini at the beach with her family, is that?
well, there's a difference
Where's the
between she's
line?
building a, well, that's how she's sitting, right?
If it's
I know, and have you seen their little bodies? Who made them that tall and skinny? My own kid's 5'8". I'm just like, what? Where'd you come from?
Is she just outgrowing her clothes? Or was
Yeah,
that-
yeah, woo! Gretchen, that's a great comment. Well, we know that the exposure to the first, age at which we think they're first exposed is now 9. Accidental exposure to porn on the internet. But you are so right. We've got to teach modesty. We've got to get those shorts longer. You know how they'll do that, right? The girls will bring their shoulders up. So, look, Mom, you know, and it's supposed to be there, right? I heard the high school's getting stricter on the dress code, but it's the least of my worry. But is it? I mean, there's so much up there. We're up to almost 4,000 kids. It's a small community college. The data that stuck out when I was rolling out was the anxiety, depression, and the suicidal ideation. And those were above state and national averages here in our school district. And if you can imagine, I wasn't a very popular person toward the end because I was ripping scabs off stuff we needed to talk about, and I felt really bold because I was retiring. And so it's scary for me because I don't know how willing an entity, any school district, is to really target the underlying need. What's happening here that's showing us they're anxious, they're cutting, they're, you know, we've had 2, I don't know if you know, we've had 2 completed suicides this school year. Yeah, of course you don't want, I mean, they haven't, it's not going to be out on a Marco Alvarado bulletin. But, yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. I mean, can I say those were connected to cell phones in any way or, you know, porn? No. But I can tell you that one kid was extremely successful, got accepted into like the Naval Academy, chose to go to A&M, but still was in the Corps of Cadets, super successful, never failed, had a fight with his girlfriend, she broke up. He decides to do that. Other kid, always in and out of the alternative center since like 8th grade. Heavy drug use, super removed from his family, even like left the home, tried to get emancipated and so forth. Decided also that it wasn't worth it. Both used firearms to make sure it was done. Question. Yes, honey. Okay, boom and then boom.
I do think that we can have an impact. We can be overwhelmed by statistics like that. But I have one 14-year-old girl to give an example for. I took her phone away on Friday because grades came out Friday. And as of Monday, she said 2 things to me. I feel less anxious and I'm sleeping more. So I want to give hope here that it's not out of our control.
It is not out of our control.
In 3 days, she said, I didn't ask her those questions. I said, how are you doing? She brought those things up.
It may be time in our house too. Good one, thank you. Yes.
I just want to ask this detail early, but my oldest, I have twins that are 9 and 4th grade, and I have a 2nd grader. And we're very, very strict with technology, but I see, and my previous career was nursing, so these are all things I've known about, and I talk openly with my kids about addictions and dopamine and all that.
Good.
Great.
Keep going.
So I'm curious though, because our rule in our house is Fridays and Saturdays are their only tech days, and they get 30 minutes each. The problem is they all watch each other too. They're like standing over watching the other one. So I have to limit it to 30 minutes each. But
That's so funny, you're so right. That's
during,
good too.
so during the week, I say, well, if it's a requirement for school or homework, like reflex math or sometimes Prodigy, but we've kind of phased that one out.
Yeah, they did.
So I'm finding with my boys that, and I think it kind of goes back to addiction and behaviors, because it does run on both sides of our family, grandparents and aunts and uncles. And my concern is, even though I'm so strict, like they
hijacked. It's got hijacked.
But it's really on me and our whole family to see them constantly losing their control. But I feel like, am I too strict? Because now, because they're not getting it, they try, like when they're here at school, I'm hearing from the teachers that during free time, they're like on the computer playing a game. Because they're just trying to see.
Rainy day recess. Boy, I tried to fight that before I left.
And then
No devices could.
they come out of school and they're like, hey, can we download this one game? I saw this at school. And I'm like, what? So it's a battle. I mean, we're very open about it as a family. We talk why they don't constantly, I mean, at 9 they can start to understand why, but they still are like, well, why are we like this and not everybody else? And how can we have, it's just a constant battle. It's emotionally exhausting for us.
Well, I think we could all relate. And I wonder if two things, I kind of like maybe, well, you're already taking breaks, aren't you? Because you're only having 2 days worth, right? Or
Yeah, right.
it'd be up to you and your husband, but you may want to consider, are there 10-minute increments that maybe come as a reward? But the only problem I have with that is that they're going to want another 10 and another 10. So probably it's the battle.
We
Marla?
do the archive, so I set a timer for 30 minutes, it shuts off, but then they're like,
I could have won a Fortnite!
That was a big issue in our house. So we worked backwards where it was, I kind of learned where the level would end. So if they got 30 minutes, and then I would say, okay, you've got 2 minutes to finish what you're doing. And if there's any arguing, then tomorrow you lose half your game. And so by the
we did that, we take off like
by the
5
threads,
minutes.
we're like, I sing it the next day, they're like, okay, it's off, you know, but then it's like, it's less fighting, but that's the only way, otherwise they do the same thing, like, and then it's like, oh, I didn't do it.
Try to, I like how so many people are saying that they have these clear expectations. It's even better if you have them written down. And I think I have the family code on here, code, C-O-D-E. So let's look, but this is going to be important. Oh, is that because it was me? I might have to get back on there, Marla. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we do the same thing, where it's like, I try to be reasonable, like, if we
Yeah.
can finish that level, if the level's not gonna take an hour.
Right.
But also, one of our kids was really struggling even with those kind of limits, we just did a whole month off, but talked about, like, when you can emotionally regulate yourself, then you can earn it back.
But are we teaching the emotional regulation? So I know that's still, we can say like, calm down.
No, I mean, that's it, I'm trying to say it very
You're being very
succinctly.
succinctly,
But
okay.
it did work, but it was a month off,
That's great.
so.
Charlene?
I think that's easier when they're younger,
I know.
because it, like, especially in the middle school level, so many teachers have so many of their assignments attached to their phones or the device that it feels like, it's like if you take their device and they,
Yeah.
there's an assignment, they can't work on their phone.
what we're trying to do at home, because then they go to school.
How about this? Are they supposed to come in and get on the intranet so that it's filtered? Yeah. How many kids are doing that? My kids stay on their data all day. I probably need to shut the phone down, but then they can't do their work.
Right.
Okay, next slide. I know, and I'm keeping my eye on the time just to make sure we have some Q&A. Okay, so remember these are dopamine releasing behaviors, and again, if you're a nurse, some of this is like redundant. But look at how rage is on there too. So as they get mad at us because we've taken away the technology, they're getting fed on that too. If we don't teach them the self-regulation. That's different for each family, but that could be exercise, that you go outside and you teach them how to jump rope. I mean, like, literally, they've got to shoot some dopamine that's natural, for the natural high. It could be petting the dog, brushing the dog. That's so calming. Some people can teach mindfulness. I have a hard time with that personally, but that's something our whole family could probably benefit from. Quietness. A lot of kids don't want to sit, people. They sit so much here. Wait till they get to middle school and high school, you know. I miss the 20-minute recesses. The 6th grader uses that on me. Mom, I haven't even had any recess. I've had nothing. I have to move. I mean, he's standing in our kitchen, wherever he is. He's standing, he'll have a ball. It's bouncing off. I mean, the kid needs to move. We are not set up for that in a public school system. So when he can get a shot of dopamine on a screen while he's sitting in school, yes, for him, right? But we know that these are not all good. Some of them aren't. I love exercise, but I can be done too much. Next one, Marla. are, little natives. Look how cute she is. Next one. So this isn't anything that's going to be surprising to you, but we have got to do these 3 things. And the follow-through is the key. Raise your hand if you think you are the master of the follow-through. Oh my God, I know. It's so hard. Just because I'm a therapist does not mean I'm good at it. With your own children, you lose it. So I'm the first one to be naked in front of you and tell you, you've got to be kidding me. It's the hardest thing we struggle with. Whether you're taking your kid and telling them they have 10 minutes left, and you know as you walk up toward them what you're about to do, right? And the struggle begins. We have to remember that we signed up for this, the parenting thing. There's not a manual, it keeps changing, but we're capable. We can do this. I agree with you. It's tough to think that we're sending them to school, and so much of what we're trying to do as far as parameters and breaks, we don't know what's happening at school. Are they getting a break every 30 minutes from their screen? Hopefully, because they're changing classes, but then they probably have it out in between classes, at lunch. We could shut them down. If you know where their lunch is, shut it down. If you use our pads. I mean, there's things we can do. They cost money. I think the RPAC's $9.99 a month for the high-end one. There's a different level. There's different levels. Teen Safe, I'm on the trial right now, so I can't remember how much it is, but I mean, it's not cheap. But we've already handed them a $500, $600, $700 device. Then we're going to hand them a car. And believe me, if we haven't modeled good behavior in the car with our phones, yikes. Talk about scary. Kids on phones driving. We live off Hamilton Pool Road. Yeah, that's a scary thought. Go ahead, Marla. Okay, so what's the worry? You can read this. So there are kids that would match the criteria for addiction already. That would mean that when you set parameters or took the phone away, that they didn't bounce back like our friend's daughter here, that they couldn't come out of it, or they were finding ways to sneak it. But the scary thing is that you see on the cerebral lobes what's been affected by that flooding. Next one, Marla. Okay, so what are you going to do? Doing what we're doing right now. We're going to look at different monitoring. We're going to grab their phone. Actually, don't grab it. Say, I'm going to look at your phone. And you can do it when they're in bed, too. Make sure that all the phones are away from their bedrooms. That's one of those basic ones. Can't tell you how many of my daughter's 14-year-old friends have their phones in their rooms, and then you're that mom at the sleepovers walking in at 11 o'clock at night going, hand me the phones, and have kids actually doing this. 14-year-old girls, like, give me the phone now. Like, I'm going to call your mom, and you go home. I mean, like, that kind of conversation with 14-year-old girls. And keep talking. But, you know, a lot of it is to each other. We can compare notes. It's so important. Next one more. So, do some of the research yourself. Make sure you are checking on, these are not the only ones. I was looking up last night, and you can see that Norton, they do an antivirus software, but they're now doing a tech device for parents, a screening tool, Norton, so it got highly ranked. Again, make sure you go to, no, go back, Marla, you're good. Believe it or not, the antidrug.com is a really great website. Besides substances, it has great information on technology. And so does the FOSSI organization, which is on your page. And that's going to teach you how to monitor and talk about social media and technology use. Go ahead, Marla. And then basically, I would love to have you all become part of the CIA. We can continue to stay connected on things going on in the district and the community. I think it's January, and I don't have a date yet, but Hill Country and Door is willing to partner with an organization I'm starting. I'm starting a small nonprofit, but I'm not going to tell you the name yet because I'm still toying with it, but it will be to support the community fully funded so we can bring speakers, we can bring counseling to families that can't afford it, or families that can afford it. Regardless, we need to have support. But Hill Country Indoor is going to probably host a movie night event with me where we show something called the ripple effect. And if you were able to see Screenagers about a year ago, we showed that at Lakeway Church. We had about 800 parents show up. It was really cool. This ripple effect is about how we make choices around anxiety and how that ripples through a community and through a person's life. So, you know, it's not like joyful necessarily, but it's definitely informative. And just looking forward to collaborating with other like-minded parents.